Welcome to the REALL Academy, brought to you each Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by the
Systems Doctors,
Dr. Sheka Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor, best-selling authors, consultants, and speakers of Create and Educate LLC. Create and Educate LLC is an educational consultant and literary firm that provides professional development to schools and community. Their goal is to transform organizations with the REALL Resilience Framework used to increase their school report card grades 2 and 3 grade levels in 1 year. REALL stands for Respect, Excellence, Accountability, Literacy, and Leadership. This framework is used to coach leaders and teachers and build student efficacy while putting systems in place that aligns the work of the school improvement, making the process manageable. When the work is manageable, teachers and leaders don't stress out or burn out.
the Systems Doctors.
Alignment systems are designed to help schools evolve and grow, all while instituting protocols and processes designed to promote collaboration and collegiality. The implementation of the alignment framework prevents some of the most common problems in education, where leaders sometimes aren't sure where to start, or in our new age of educating, leaders need a trusted sounding board that allows them to be vulnerable and transparent, preventing loneliness at the top. The framework doesn't just help leaders, but also prevents teachers from burning out from too many initiatives and embracing teachers as they are the experts. Finally, the framework extends to the children, helping them get engaged in school and solving a nationwide problem. Alignment systems are frequently referred to as a key element of success in the improvement process. In the sport of rowing, all rowers must put their oars in the water, succinctly creating a system for their boat to reach maximum speed. So schools that want to improve are bringing in
the Systems Doctors
to teach them all about the alignment systems that must be in place for school improvement to be accomplished at high levels. The dynamic duo provides insights into educational topics through their international platform, which includes educators, parents, and community members as a way to support important entities that make communities thrive. This is their way to pay it forward and provide the support they needed through their platform. Take a look. People who work with the
Systems Doctors
describe them as an excellent and inspiring group of leaders. They get into the weeds of work with leaders through their TrustMate Institute that you should contact them about today by filling out the contact form on their website.
It's Super Saturday, everyone. Welcome to the REALL Academy, brought to you by Create and Educate with your very own Systems DoctHers, HERS. I am Dr. Sheka Houston.
Good morning, and I'm Dr. Tammy Taylor.
Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning, Sheka.
And as you all can see, Tammy is off on location. She's at the beach. At which conference or meeting?
It's our monthly, our quarterly Sheka meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if this is your first time in the Academy and you're wondering who we are consultants who help leaders empower their students and staff members to transform schools. We provide the same systems that we use to improve our schools: 2 report card grade levels in 1 year at my middle school and 3 report card grade levels in 1 year at Tammy's elementary school, which moved her school up 60 levels in the state. My school was a STEAM School of Excellence, a Palmetto Silver School for academic growth, and Tammy's school is an NWEA case study school and also an Admentum Showcase school.
Yes, and I want you to know that we are here to help you too. How can we do that? Through our TrustMate Institute that allows you to collaborate with us and other leaders with like goals while gaining our school transformation systems and making them your own. They're definitely customizable. Using our three systems to transformation: systems of respect, systems of excellence, and systems of accountability, and the systems that we use that were the secret sauce to our transformed schools. We're here to help you with those.
Most definitely. And we are able to help because we have served in classrooms, we've served in leadership roles at the school and the district levels. We serve on multiple boards, and we're also best selling contributing authors to Women Who Lead and Breonna Taylor and me. One other program that we have that we can definitely help you with is the Build My Sister Collaborative. We empower Black women to lead their lives with authenticity and through a genuine sisterhood. So, if you're a Black woman and you've ever felt like we're going through life just trying to figure it out on our own, and a lot of times we are, and a lot of times we are figuring it out, but it would be a lot easier with the proven principles that we have found from Africana womanism and also with sisters by your side to support one another. And each Build My Sister event that we have hosted has had the most amazing feedback.
Yeah,
So,
certainly has. And we're very excited about that. We pay it forward each week as a part of our live stream network, the Fantastic Four, starting at 10 a.m. with Principal Hurt, who we know will do his thing because he always does. And then yours truly, Create and Educate, at 10:30 with the Real Academy. And then at 10:55, our mentor and the GOAT, AP and New Principals Academy with Principal Kafele. And then again on Sunday evening, PGP podcast with Dr. Moreno and Principal Josh Tovar.
most definitely. And we are super excited about the pilot program that we are conducting with our school out in the Virgin Islands. The Real Me for Girls, another school has, middle school has contacted me about the program as well, but it's our K 12 empowerment program for girls. It is difficult to do anything with transformation or anything in a school where people feel beaten down or downtrodden. If your people are not empowered, nothing will happen. And that's what Tammy and I specialize in, getting them to believe through our stories, but also through using what we use to know that you can do this too. Many report card grades have come out in multiple states, so we know what it feels like to be in that seat. We know what it feels like to need help. And you may have people around you who don't know how to help or are not willing to help. We are willing to help. Reach out to us through our website. Just fill out the contact form, and we will be in contact with you. We're definitely going to help you. So that brings us to our topic for today. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, comment, do all of the things that the platforms do to help us build these algorithms and also to help us spread the word. Don't keep us all to yourselves. We are pre recording because Tammy is out on location today. So we won't be doing our real fam shout outs, but let us know in the comments that you're here. Tell us how you've kept it real this week. And we are going to get started on episode 166 of the Real Academy, Systems of Excellence to Transform Tier 1 Instruction. And what is Tier 1 instruction? Very simply put, Tier 1 is everyone's lesson. A lot of times we divide children up into who they belong to based on whether or not they have certain plans or they're in certain programs or in certain tiers. But when children are in Tier 1 instruction is everyone's lesson. You cannot start teaching standards and subjects without first researching who you are teaching. This is so essential to what me and Tammy believe in, what our philosophies are. So you have to identify the barriers that may prevent students from accessing the knowledge that they need, like the socioeconomic status, the race, the ethnicity, because we got to make things culturally relevant. We have to look at things generationally, make sure they're generationally relevant. We've got to look at gender. We've got to look at how many multi language learners that we have, how many students have individualized education plans. And I have determined that I will no longer say special education program because to me that makes something click in people's brains to make them believe that children in special ed can't do certain things. So if we keep the focus on the plan, children with individual education plans, I think that is different messaging for people. But we've got to make sure that we know how many of those students that we have and what those accommodations are.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is just something as leaders, we have to ensure when it comes to tier one instruction, and that's everyone's instruction, but what we can do as building leaders and teacher leaders and coaches and those of us that are responsible for making sure that strong tier one instruction is occurring in classrooms, we have to recognize what that looks like. And I'm not necessarily speaking from a pedagogical perspective. I'm talking about just knowing the standards that your folks are expected to teach and what the rigor of that standard looks like at a particular grade. Because oftentimes what I've discovered is there's a disconnect sometimes with the level of rigor that's happening in the lessons that are being presented as tier one. And it isn't that teachers aren't teaching, because it's rare. It's very rare, at least at my school. I've noticed that it's a very rare occasion when teachers are deliberately not doing what they think they're supposed to do in the classroom. But I've also recognized, and this is something that my coach, Deborah Jordan, shout out to her, because she is master at this, making sure that the standards have been deconstructed well enough for the teachers to understand what that looks like for your grade level. But we have conversations all the time about how an author's purpose is just an example for you to think about. An author's purpose lesson in second grade is very different than an author's purpose lesson in fifth grade. So if you're in a fifth grade classroom and you see the lesson being presented the way that you would present it in a second grade class, it isn't that the standard isn't being taught. The standard is not being taught at the rigor of that particular grade level. So in order for us to strengthen tier one instruction in our buildings, we're going to have to really dig down deeply into those standards and see what the nuances are that make it look differently from grade to grade. And then that way, our teachers start to see, oh, okay, there is a difference, even when it's subtle. It could be just an addition of another verb that has to happen at that grade level. But I think that sometimes that tier one gets warped, and that does create issues for our children who have specialized plans, because we've not challenged them to the rigor of that standard. And I've noticed, and this again, shout out to Great Falls Elementary, because they really, really do their thing down there. But I've noticed my children who have individualized education plans can score at the proficient and exemplary levels
Mhm.
when they are exposed to content that is grade level appropriate and they have the accommodations they need to be successful.
Most definitely. And so, what I have given you, what Tammy has given you for tier one instruction, what systems do you have in place for teachers to be able to do this? These things don't happen haphazardly. We can't assume that all teachers know to do this. This is why you are an instructional leader. And right now, we're talking to our leaders. You have to know how to guide the teachers. You've got to know, like Tammy said, the standards, or you got to have a coach who knows the standards. You got to have someone who knows the rigor of those standards. And when you're going to observe to provide feedback, you've got to know, and they have to know, whether or not the teaching is up to that level of rigor before the assessment, because these things can be identified before a child actually takes a test.
For sure. And let's add a footnote here. We're not suggesting that you're going to go into the classroom and you're going to know all 10 gazillion standards and
Mm-mm.
indicators that are appropriate for that grade level. It's not. Well, let me rewind. I'm going to shout out Jerry Dodd. He's principal, past principal. Jerry knew every standard that there was to know. And
But
that
there is an app for South Carolina,
he's
that
brilliant like that, but there is an
I
app
used to use
probably
the
for every
app. Mhm.
day. You pull up your grade level when you go in there for the subject that you're observing. You may
Mhm.
not know them by heart, but what you should know when you go in there is what the deconstruction looks like. Because again, that's work that your coach can help you do. That's
Right.
work that you can do in POCs with your teachers so that you know exactly what it is to look for when you're going into those classrooms.
Exactly. And it's really hard to be able to do this if you don't have a system in place for people to do this. They've got to, when they're looking at assessments, determine what rigor those questions are at. Does it match the blueprint? Does it match the types of questions that students are going to be tested on? So you've got to put all of those things in place. And I think PLTs have become just going through the motions sometimes for people. It has become, I think people feel like it's mundane work, but you have to make them understand as the leader why this is important, and then how we're actually growing children by doing this work. And shout out to Great Falls Elementary, because you all are doing that work and you are seeing results. So congratulations on you all's most recent report card as well.
Thank you. And thanks. That shout out goes straight to the teachers down there, pre-K through 5. Almost 100% of those folks do not mind doing what it takes. So I'm very, very honored and humbled to be able to work at a school with people who want to do what's right for children. And I'm very thankful for that.
So the next part of what we're going to be talking about is you can't really teach the standards and subjects also without researching career trends of what your subject matter relates to, because career trends and the generations, these things are important for students, for you to be able to dispel gender bias in careers and then provide exposure to students, because a lot of things in STEM and STEAM, a lot of these careers are things that don't even exist yet, but we have to expose students to the possibilities and what is out there for them. We've got to make sure that our girls are not seeing themselves as, oh, well, that math is not for girls, because that's a thing that's out here in society, and engineering and those types of things. So we have got to, a part of our job of teaching in tier one is exposure and inspiration. You've got to inspire children to want something more than what exists right now. You got to expose them to what's going to be in the future, make them excited about it. I think a lot of people, we're on the learning part of it and the teaching part of it, but the art form of teaching, the actual art form about getting kids excited about learning, I think people are losing that because it is an art form. You
Mhm.
have to put in work to be able to do that and ignite that in children. Children should be excited about coming to school and learning and seeing connections because that is how they learn.
For sure. And you want children to want to be there. And
Mhm.
when they're there, you want to make it worthwhile for them to be there.
Mhm.
It's nothing worse than bringing children into an environment where it's stale and nothing that is happening is relevant. Content
Right.
has to be relevant. And we're talking about relevancy on a number of levels. You're talking about culturally and the diversely relevant. You're talking about relevance for, as Sheka said, these careers that we don't even know what they are. But what
Mhm.
we do know is what is current right now. We know that AI is the way that the future is going to address the needs of everybody in almost
Mhm.
every area. So
Yep.
we cannot shy away from those kinds of things, that just because we don't know about it yet, we can't say that, oh, this is not, we're not doing anything with this because we're not expected to do this right now. It reminds me, and I don't know, Shika, you know this much better than me, when this came into play, but I can remember back in my early days of teaching when they had started to talk about financial literacy, because of how they wanted us to make sure that we were preparing children in a
Mhm.
way before you get to a civics class in high
Mhm.
school. They wanted us to make sure that kids were financially literate. And so you started with those financial literacies and those things that were happening. We had to jump in there and get started with. Nobody tells you what that looks like. You probably knew because you were a business person, but a person
Right.
like me teaching in a fourth grade class, and they're saying, well, here you go. This is what's getting ready to happen when they get to middle school. You have to do some research yourself to figure out,
Right.
what does that look like to help my children to be ready to address these things when that time comes. And some of the work that we do with the generational studies that are keyed in on these new alphas and Gen Zers, we're looking at some really different kind of learning that
Mhm.
take place, and children who have an attention span of a gnat. Like,
And they're going to have at least 18 different careers in their lifetime. So they are not like us where we got, get a job, you stay 30 years. These are not those children. So if we are trying to box children into a track, we are doing them a disservice. And we should be using AI in education to do exactly what we're talking about. Teachers should be able to take their long range plans and their student interests, the standards, and be able to connect them to what? Put it in AI. How does this relate to everything your child want to be in their class? Have teachers attach it to their lesson plan. This is how you make the information relevant to the child. And as a STEAM school of excellence, what we used to do at the beginning of each year, I made sure teachers had a planning session to look at their long range plans to see everywhere your curriculum has some type of cross connection and how can we create problem based or project based learning from those standards. Because if we keep teaching things in isolation, and is stale and boring to children, we will not invoke any type of excitement about learning. When we had our STEAM days where the children were engulfed in their projects, where people were coming around to see them, there was not one referral because they were interested and excited about learning. And that's what we've got to get back to. Also,
Bet not,
authentic
because you got to think
assessment.
about this, Shika. When you do those kinds of things and y'all had those team days, think about the level of um
Rigor.
yes, and the
Mhm.
intensity that
Mhm.
goes into, like, I know it's a lot of planning,
It
but
is.
you're creating a crime scene that these kids have to investigate, and they are motivated to do it because this is something that I want to do, versus they come in and want to put their hood on and put their head down the desk because they are not motivated to work out 35 multiplication problems that are the same exact kind of problem 30 times,
Mm.
just with different numbers. And
Right.
that's a very different kind of, and we can make it even more relevant. They're looking at the periodic table in a class because it's science, and
Mhm.
you're having to spew out these elements that you're looking at over and over and over, and they're unmotivated to do it. So
Mhm.
hats off to teachers that really take those things into consideration, because I think when you set up those scenarios for children, those are the experiences that they're going to remember, and those are
Mhm.
the experiences that they're going to learn and grow the most from.
Most definitely. And also, the assessments don't have to just be what you just talked about, Tammy. They can be authentic assessments. They can create a podcast about this topic that you've had them to research, because all of them want to be YouTubers and influencers. Let them have some choice in what they are turning in as a product, and let it be personalized to what they want to do if you're
Absolutely.
not working on these big project based lessons. And a lot of people think, well, we can't do that because we've got to take these assessments. Schools that I have researched that are using personalized learning, authentic assessments, see the results on those CFAs and on state tests. They transfer because the students remember and they retain the information. If you keep staying in this rote space, that is what they are not retaining. This is what the children call they canceling. This is
And
what
they're
they call.
silently rebelling against it. They may
Yes.
not be, and that's the thing. We have to move from that whole idea of conforming, because you
Mhm.
walk into a classroom and everybody's compliant. It looks like, oh, this is a classroom where learning is occurring, and I'm just being honest. A lot of times people are guilty of looking for that in the classroom, rather than kids scurrying and about and having conversations and
Mhm.
discourse about what they're doing. Let children lead their learning, and let them do that authentically, and I promise you'll see how that yields you results in the long run.
Definitely. So we are out of time. We have a few more points that we didn't get to that we'll get to next week. We'll have a guest on with us next week, and we'll be talking about how to make sure that math instruction is where it needs to be with the special guest that we have. So make sure you hop over to Principal Kafele's page, join Josh and Dr. Moreno on Sunday, and then right back here on Super Saturday for Principal Sean Hurd at 10. Yours truly, Create and Educate at 10:30. You all have a great rest of your Saturday.
Happy weekend, y'all.